the journey brought her to founding her camps, and she'll talk to you a lot more. But it's also been in this last month that we need to be working on a campaign around autoimmune awareness because it's autoimmune awareness is March. So it really has been incredible to go out to our community and see the people that they need to make with and ask them to tell their stories. Social media is a phenomenal thing for that. He has 130,000 Instagram followers. But what's amazing is if you hashtags on TikTok, autoimmune disease, there's 1.2 billion views. So talk about a great way to get the story out and really spread the word. And that's one of these big questions is how do we get more information out to people so they can understand what is possible and how that might be for themselves. So what do you think?
Well, I'm going to stand up here so I can hopefully read off of this. One of the joys of turning 50 is I now need several pairs of glasses, so I can't really see you, but I need this so I can see this. So this will be interesting for me. But thank you very much. It is an honor to be here and share my personal journey with you. When I asked what would be meaningful to speak about, I was told just share your story. It's really the ultimate wellness journey and really about the power of advocation. So I'm here as a survivor, a thriver, a patient, an advocate. I'm also on the board of the Autoimmune Association. And like most of the diagnosed with autoimmune issues, my journey has been anything but linear and went largely misdiagnosed or undiagnosed for over 10 years by death. The word stressed, overworked, overtired, take on too much were used for health issues such as premature labor at 28 weeks and 20 weeks, one of them resulting in my daughter's twin, pancreatitis, ovarian failure, vitiligo, and it wasn't until I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in 2008 that things really started to change. But it didn't significantly change until I was diagnosed with a rare brain tumor in 2008 that was not cancerous and thought to be environmentally derived by something possibly as simple as what I was putting on my skin, hence kind of how I started the skincare line. I was told I could have as little as 6 months to live, to get my affairs in order, to spend as much time with my children as possible. And I couldn't understand how this was happening. And that's when doctors really started to understand and look into the depth of my patient history, look through the treasure trove of tests that I've undergone, and really understood the depth of the autoimmune issues, and finally started to put pieces of the puzzle together. So it was November 4th, 2008, and my doctor sent me for an MRI as I started to notice I had lost my vision out of my left eye. And only 5 months prior, he had correctly diagnosed me with rheumatoid arthritis. Well, 45 minutes after leaving the scan, I got a phone call that changed my life. I cannot see you guys, so I have to do this because I want to. Peter, my doctor, called and asked me to come in immediately. And I knew it wasn't a good sign because, when the doctors say, can you come in? Instead of just telling you, there's something up. And I asked him, just tell me before I go consult my favorite websites, WebMD and Google. And I promised that I had my keys in my hand. And he just said, you have a brain tumor. And I said, I'll see you in 15 minutes. I'll be honest, I'll never forget the drive. It was one of those beautiful fall days here in New York, and we know them so well. It's almost like you smell apples in the air. The leaves are orange and red and yellow, and as I'm driving, everything becomes in focus, or as I like to refer to it as Technicolor. Now, I'm sure some of you might see this, and I think there's another CPA. At least I saw that on the But anyone out there a planner? Okay, anybody out there a type A personality? Okay, card-carrying member myself. See, I had been so busy and so consumed with checking off the boxes of what I thought I was supposed to accomplish in my life. Great career, check. 2 children, boy and girl, check, check. 2 dogs, yellow lab, check, check. That I really lost sight of the very point of life, to live. I had become a passenger in my own life and not living vibrantly. And at that moment, I knew that this was happening for a reason, that something incredibly powerful would come out of it if I would learn to allow it. I decided whatever this is and whatever time I had left, I would live each day fully with what I affectionately call now the three P's: passion, with purpose, and to be fully present in every moment. That decision I made over 14 years ago continues to be my North Star. So while I was frantically searching for a doctor who would give me a different prognosis, I decided to do the next most logical thing a gal in my circumstance should do. I sold all my jewelry. I emptied my 401k. I went into massive credit card debt, and I decided to become a pioneer in the clean beauty movement. Totally logical. And started a brand in the middle of one of the worst recessions. FYI, my parents still hide the jewelry when I come to the house. I think they're afraid I'm going to do something. And for those of you who might be wondering, was I in beauty before this? Nope. I'm actually a public private CPA. So afterwards, if you guys need help in taxes, you can come to me. I'm very happy to help you out. Fortunately, my persistence paid off, and I found a doctor who was willing to do the surgery on Earth Day. And I took that as a good sign. If ever you're going to start a skincare line that's dedicated to clean beauty and sustainability, Earth Day was probably a great idea. By the way, it's also my forever gift to you for marketing. So on Earth Day, I walked into the surgical suite, unable to see out of the left side of my left eye, and said, "Today is a great day to live. Put on some kick ass music." I will also tell you that that's when the anesthesiologist asked me if I had been taking recreational drugs or drinking, because he's never seen anybody quite so excited to be going into brain surgery with less than a 50% chance of living. And I said, "I've got this. I have things to do. Today's going to be a great day." I hopped on the table. 8 hours later, I woke up in narrow ICU recovery, able to see completely, and the doctors welcomed me to the rest of my life. I turned on my website. 6 months later, my brand is now sold in over 2,000 doors in over 22 countries. Never underestimate the power of a girl with a vision board. But that's a story for another day. Of course, none of this was done alone. One of the best pieces of advice my rheumatologist gave me was to create a support team. He said it's kind of like a board of directors for your life. And he told me that living with RA or any autoimmune issues requires support of your caregivers, doctors, nurses, your insurance company on speed dial. That one is for sure. Friends and loved ones. Truer words have never been spoken. One of the gifts my autoimmune journey has also given me is the ability and confidence to advocate for myself and for my health. If I didn't, I would not be standing here today. So I tell people, please find your voice. Find doctors that will listen to your voice. There are statistics that say, and I took over 10 years and 12 different doctors, but for those of us who are living with autoimmune issues, it could take up to 4 years and 4 doctors just to begin your diagnosis journey. So surround yourself with people who want to raise your spirits and brighten your light, never dim it. Now, that support system, of course, will change throughout your life. Players will come and go. Again, that's where choice plays a crucial role. I would argue that just as much as the saying goes, your vibe attracts your tribe attracts your vibe. So choose wisely. I've had the opportunity and honor of sharing my story across the globe now. And what's interesting is how much the conversation has shifted. You see, this was never just about starting a skincare line for me. It was always about empowering others to live their healthiest version of their life. And the more speaking opportunities I have, the more my social media followers grow, the more conversations find their way to be less about the brand and the products, but more about what got me here and what keeps me here. That's advocacy, awareness, and empowerment. While I face many of the same challenges and problems as I did pre-tumor, it's the lens from which I view them that has changed dramatically. I no longer live in fear, but rather lean into it and know it's just on the other side of love. There's an incredible quote by Jack Canfield that I actually have on my desk in love. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. I truly believe this. For me, fear is what happens when faced with the unknown. Rather than looking at it as a dark place, I continue to challenge myself to see fear as an opportunity for growth. I'm still working on this. After all, we're still a work in process. So, of course, yes, I absolutely have my bad days. The difference is, Beth can attest to this, I'm grateful that I get to have them. After all, you don't know what a good day is unless you've come something to compare it to. Without darkness, there can be no light. But most of all, I've learned to give myself grace and recognize difficult times for what they are. A bad day at work, a painful flare up, a new part of my autoimmune disease journey. I don't need to label them any further. The challenge is not to allow them to define you. Accept it, work it, move on. Attaching anything other to it is just going to give it power. Now, some of you may be saying, oh, sure, that's easy for you to say, Indy. Once you woke up from surgery, the doctor welcomed you to the rest of your life. But you see, my story didn't end there. 1 year later, my biannual MRI showed I had another brain tumor, the same type, in the same spot, potentially threatening my life if it continued to grow. You see, autoimmune diseases, they have their own set of rules and often playing out differently for each patient. This time I did what you would expect a veteran like me to do. I threw a tantrum, I screamed, I cursed, I cried, and then I got present. I got my support team back together, and I got some incredible doctors, and I decided to name it Hermione. FYI, my first tumor I named Herman, not necessarily a scary name, but one I didn't necessarily want cohabitating in me. So I made a deal with Hermione that if she stopped growing, I would never get complacent. I would continue to advocate. I had regular checkups, I got healthy, and I was growing my company. And then 4 years later, my MRI check-in showed that Hermione and I were not exactly on the same page. She had started to grow. I was broken. What was going on? I was eating well. I was living on purpose. I was passionate about what I was doing in the company I was creating. But you see, sometimes bad things happen. So I leaned into love, not fear. I also remembered one of my promises to myself, to be and stay present. So I struck a new deal with Hermione. I make a lot of deals with my body, if you haven't got that. I decided that I was going to get really present and stay there. And so she stayed put. In 2019, I had a conversation with my doctor and I said, I've got this. I was going to play full out. I was going to use my voice to raise awareness. I was going to help others advocate for themselves, educate, and empower more people to live life on their terms. And most importantly, remember my promises of the 3 Ps every day. My doctor said, that's lovely, but that's impossible for it to go away. We just don't want it to grow. My next MRI report showed that Hermione had started to shrink. Never underestimate the power of a woman on a mission to create change. What I'd love to leave you with today is this. We don't get to choose what diseases we are struck with, but we do get to decide if we agree with the diagnosis. We don't know what treatments will work for us, but we can choose who we face that journey with. I remind you all that life is not a dress rehearsal. Choose to live every day with passion, with purpose, and be present to the life you are all creating. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to share this space with you today.